Hi, thank you very much for the introduction. Once again, my name is Brandon Carter, and we'll be talking about Agile software development with Polarion ALM today. For our agenda, we'll start with a quick introduction, Agile, the what and why. We'll look at some challenges with Agile that businesses face. We'll look at how we can overcome those challenges based on Polarion's three core pillars. And finally, we'll look at what sets Polarion apart and some of the differentiators. We will start by quickly outlining the what and why behind Agile. What is Agile? Agile is a structured and iterative approach to project management and product development. Remember that it is a cultural and technical philosophy with values and principles. The bigger question is why Agile? The Agile concepts were born from the necessity of embracing change in an easy and natural way. In effect, organizations are able to deliver faster, better, cheaper, and Agile was based on the following principles. With individuals and interactions, we understand that motivated employees do their job better. When people are valued more than processes, you allow them to be creative, self-organized, and trusted to do the job. Real-time conversations are more effective and efficient. Working software means that teams are delivering in short increments. This allows the customer to see the product come to life rather than just promises on paper. Customers can give early feedback, and it can be more easily incorporated into the product. Quality must be maintained. Working software becomes the measure of success. When the team is collaborating with the customer becomes part of the team. This actually helps the product team understand the customer needs better, and the customer, together with the team, might even realize new requirements and requests that they didn't previously think of. The last principle is responding to change. The first three principles enable the teams to adapt to the changes effectively. Adapting to those changes with business requirements will minimize wasted effort. Teams will be working iteratively. Surveys of development and IT professionals show that Agile is the new norm. The majority of the development teams and projects now embrace this Agile methodology. Agile is clearly beneficial, but what are the challenges when transitioning and adopting to the Agile way of working? There are challenges with the strict definition of Agile principles. Let's take a look at a few. Distributed teams have to work as one team, although they cannot always have face-to-face interactions. Teams are working more and more remotely. Collocating the customer with the team is, most of the time, not possible. There are compliance and regulations that require detailed documentation and risk mitigation. Another one with continuous integration and changing requirements. It can be easy to miss critical tests for any requirement. When focusing on continuous delivery, it creates an unmanageable defect backlog while developers work to put something out in front of the customer. And teams are managing the switch to Agile methodology instead of improving the way they work and becoming more efficient. Agile is applied to the development team only, while having a waterfall-like and more traditional process in other areas of the business. All the teams are inconsistent. By adopting these principles as a mindset, organizations can overcome these challenges. So we think a lot about Agile project managing your team, which is one thing, but what about if you want to roll it out over your complete application lifecycle? And not just on a project level, but also on a product and a portfolio level across the entire organization and on that enterprise level. Let's think about Agile Application Lifecycle Management, or ALM. There are many point solutions or tools out there that support Agile project management, but what sets an application lifecycle management solution apart? For example, requirements management, QA and test management, build and release management, change and configuration management, variant management, metrics and reports to help customers pass audits. In short, how can you move to Agile with full traceability, real-time visibility, and collaboration across the entire application lifecycle, which is vital in heavily regulated industries? But let's have a closer look at the necessity of, for example, requirements management. User stories are part of an Agile approach, but what about requirements? Do we still need them? So let's see where these two differ to answer that question. The user stories are easy to estimate. They are small and feasible to implement. They are ordered. Requirements are structured, not ordered, and heavily overlapping, so it does not make much sense to prioritize them. It is important to categorize user stories as must-have, should-have, nice-to-have. So let's discuss what role, function, and benefits that requirements have. The primary reason for specification documents is to ensure the consistency of functional, non-functional, design, user interaction, security, and regulatory requirements. Another benefit to manage complexity: there is no way you can maintain 20 million lines of code, projects across multiple product lines, without any supportive documentation. What is very important is that these specification documents are maintained and updated consistently. We must make sure we have the latest, greatest. By leveraging reuse, most of the requirements and specifications can be shared across multiple products within a specific product line. Let's take a look at one more here. Let's look at test management. With an integrated test management solution, you can automate tedious tasks and reduce the resolution time. What tests to execute? Trace the code change to the task, to the requirement, to the component test. And instantly, no matter what test fails, an issue is created and assigned. This holistic approach makes for that Ovum, who is a leading global technology research and advisory firm. They acknowledge Polarion as a vendor that is a leader in both Agile project management and an application lifecycle management space. Now let's see how Polarion ALM and its three core pillars tackle these challenges. Polarion ALM is built around three core pillars, which go in hand with Agile principles. With collaboration, how can we get teams across the entire lifecycle and collaborate securely on an enterprise level? Traceability, how do we trace and validate requirements, both functional and non-functional? Test cases as well, not only on a project level but also on a portfolio level. In reuse, releasing faster and with better quality means reuse and to automate as much as possible, saving and freeing up resources. So, collaboration is a heavily discussed topic. What Polarion does exceptionally well is there is a balance in enabling people to collaborate, not just easily and seamlessly, but also securely. The first key to success is the reach and adaptation by its users. Polarion is 100% browser-based, which makes it easy to access, learn, navigate, and use. I think we all know how to use browsers. Plus, there's no client to install or configure. Your teams can get started right away. Polarion aligns to everyone within your business and organization. Examples would include maybe a Scrum Master doing their sprint review, requirements engineers authoring requirements, functional safety manager who is ensuring functional safety compliance, and a software lead designing and managing software projects, and even a tester or test manager running a verification and validation. And here's why. Polarion lets all people collaborate within a single solution in the same environment, but different tools are provided for the different roles. Requirements engineers can easily work in Polarion's document interfaces, where you can edit the requirements as if you were in Microsoft Word. Scrum Masters plan their sprints using interactive Kanban boards. Release engineers, maybe checking the status of his/her release report. And a test engineer running a user acceptance test. Polarion is web-based and easy to use. Now let's talk about securing the collaboration. Even if we were to let people collaborate any way they like, you still have to have full transparency on understanding the who, the when, the what, and why for every change. In Polarion, you can audit the changes at any time with automated history records. For every change in Polarion, Polarion files a history record. Polarion is not only tracking changes on a document level, but also on individual objects and configuration and process definition changes as well. This helps companies pass regulatory audits faster. Polarion is a time machine and helps companies speed through audits. You can travel in time, navigate, open, and search any moment in history. Not just open the items, but open reports, perform queries from any point in history. Collaboration is easy. Polarion keeps track of every change, but how do we guarantee that the business rules and processes are followed? This is maintained by the Polarion workflow engine. The workflow automation helps us reduce routine manual work and prevents errors, which helps save time and increases quality. Workflow conditions guide users and ensures that the process will be followed. This also minimizes training because processes are configured in the workflows. For example, you can ensure that a requirement is approved for implementation only if the test cases were created and linked and the functional safety engineer has signed off on it. Let's summarize collaboration. Polarion is 100% browser-based. It fits to everyone within your organization. Polarion allows full transparency on understanding the who, when, what, and why for every change. Polarion helps companies succeed through audits effectively. Workflows also help guide users through their activities and follow their processes. Let's move on to traceability. What is traceability? Some think that traceability is just linking objects. For example, just linking a requirement to a test case is not enough. You need to give proof that the requirement was tested. You need to know if that test case was executed and what was the outcome. With Polarion, you can ensure completeness of the information about every step in the development process. Traceability can be categorized by a few categories that are supported within Polarion. With historical traceability, every change is tracked. With process traceability, Polarion provides proof that the process was completed by linking the evidence. For verification, this can be considered as a process traceability, but it's important to provide evidence that the requirements, design, user stories, etc. were verified and validated. For data traceability, users can decompose their data and navigate from higher level objects like business cases to epics, user stories, or work packages down to user level tasks. Polarion allows for granular traceability within a document. The document is a container of specific requirements. This allows users to run a test case against a specific requirement, which is more or less every paragraph within a requirements document. Proper traceability enables you to understand the impact of change requests before you even make them. It also makes sure that the changes actually get processed. Polarion enables users to easily understand change management by automating as much as possible. Also, what is really important is to be able to do this on a very large scale. Lots of data. 100,000 requirement project, a million lines of code, etc. Traceability is not just linking, it gives full insight of the impact of change and planning within the context of large data. Polarion supports granular traceability. We discussed collaboration and traceability. Now let's talk about the third pillar, reuse. Statistics show that rarely projects are started completely from scratch. Instead, 60 to 80% of requirements, code, and tests are being shared or at least reused between projects. It's not just about reusing the functional specifications only, but also about managing how regulatory requirements are being consistently applied over all projects. For the test library, reusing test cases across the product line. Code and other design items can be reused, or think about non-functional requirements that are often just documented and repeated frequently from project to project, and more. For example, let's look at cross-project test planning. This enables testing managers to effectively reuse test cases from other projects. Test cases can be managed in a test library project and then can be reused into your working or current project. Now, you can't always reuse objects as they are. With Polarion, you can branch and merge your data, not just code but also requirements and test cases for effective sequential or parallel project development. To summarize reuse, Polarion can reuse information easily even across projects. Polarion can branch, modify, and merge information quickly. Reuse saves time and money because we are not starting from scratch. We discussed the three core pillars of a modern ALM system. Now let's discuss a little bit about some particular examples. Let's think about the following domains: requirements management, where we gather, decompose, and release requirements; change management, where we can initiate, analyze, and verify; planning and project management, where we can plan, monitor, and verify information for the project; and test and quality management, where we can gather test cases, cover other items like requirements, user stories, etc., and execute the tests themselves. The first item is requirements management. In this domain, users can effectively gather, author, approve, and manage requirements across the project lifecycles. Some challenges that customers face is that some requirements are not written but verbally exchanged. The reason is that it's not easy enough to gather the requirements in a written form. This is why it's important to have an easy-to-use requirements management piece so that users can have the correct written requirements. Another challenge is that people do not trust the requirements. Sometimes they can be outdated or even ignored. This is why having an integrated requirement management solution is important. Users can make relevant requirements easily, and they are tracked throughout the application lifecycle. We mentioned it earlier, but it is also important to understand the who, what, when, and why for every change. Change is a threat. It's important to isolate and understand it. To support this, Polarion provides the granular traceability that we discussed earlier. That is a prerequisite for proper change management. A lot of times customers may let users make changes anytime they want, but the change does not get processed. Polarion enforces impact analysis for every change. Next is planning and project management. Polarion helps with managing team plans to large portfolio and project structures. One challenge customers face is that there are unclear expectations. It's not just about requirements, but having a done or completeness that is measurable and able to be validated. Another challenge is that problems are recognized far too late. Companies have challenges getting accurate reports. With Polarion, we can get accurate and up-to-date reports in dashboards, not just on specific teams, but at a program or portfolio level. These types of reports include burn down and burn up charts, for example. And finally, let's look at verification and validation. Similar to what we said earlier about requirements management is the fact that Polarion has an integrated test and quality management solution as part of the entire application lifecycle. We need to ensure that the test and quality management is integrated into the iterative development process, and all testing activities are continuously executed in the context of software version and managed from a central platform. Polarion also ensures that users can rely on a test management process to guarantee the expected quality. Every artifact from a business case to a task shall be clearly verifiable and covered by the testing procedures. We looked at some of the key capabilities of Polarion ALM and how Polarion supports today's challenges and the adoption of Agile. Now let's look at some other thoughts. First, with Siemens Digital Industry Software and Polarion, we realize that openness is the key. With Polarion, openness translates to many different ideas of the product, from usage to integration and all the way to deployment. Polarion is flexible and open for any type of process. Polarion supports external suppliers. Companies can connect Polarion to other tools. This can include PLM or product lifecycle management. And last but not least, there are options for companies if they want to keep data on premise or to use a SaaS or software as a service model on the cloud. Now that you have an idea of what Polarion ALM does and how it supports Agile, let's talk about deployment and the cost of ownership. With Polarion, you can get up and running in days, not months. There's a flat learning curve. Polarion has an intuitive user interface. There's a zero client footprint. It's 100% web-based. That also makes it easy to use because we all have experience navigating a browser. Polarion is easy to maintain. It's easy to configure. Polarion is easily upgraded. Most of the Polarion customer base is on the latest major release. Polarion is also scalable. It's enterprise ready. When getting started with Polarion, customers can quickly realize the benefits with this easy deployment for a fast return on investment. So we discussed Polarion ALM and how it supports Agile from requirements management, test and quality management, planning, and change management. With that, let's go ahead and open it up for Q&A. If you can, go ahead and please submit your questions using the Q&A window. We'll go ahead and give it a minute to let those come in. Let's see. The first question I see is, are there licenses or versions of Polarion for users that need to work remote? Well, since Polarion is 100% browser-based, users just need a user login. They can access their data in Polarion wherever they have a browser. Let's see, what browsers can be used to access Polarion? Most of the main browsers are supported: Firefox, Chrome, Safari, etc. Let's see here. Another one. Does Polarion support SAFe? Yes, there is support for SAFe. There's a SAFe template for Polarion that organizes projects into portfolio, program, and team levels. Also keep in mind that Polarion is very flexible. Companies can define the artifacts or objects that they need. When I say objects, I'm talking about those requirements, test cases, epics, user stories, tasks, issues or defects, etc. Polarion can adapt to the customer's processes. The workflow engine can also be configured. Let's see, looks like we have time for another one. We already have Jira on our development teams. Can Polarion connect to Jira? Yes, Polarion can connect to Jira and exchange data. Items and properties or fields can be synced to Jira. Work and changes to those fields in Jira can then be synced back to Polarion. This is a bi-directional connection. This supports the idea of openness that we discussed earlier. Okay. We have the chat. Any other questions that didn't get answered, we'll have the information and we'll be able to follow up with you. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and have a good day.